Good morning and welcome to the Stylo News Intelligence Update for June 21st, 2026. I'm your host, and today we're bringing you an objective, fact-based explanator covering the past 2 weeks of events in the Russia-Ukraine theater. We're going to look at the data calmly and professionally, laying out the facts exactly as they stand on the ground.
Before we dive in, a quick note that this briefing is powered by ProWave AI. They're the developers of Stylo Intel Ops, which is the AI-powered open-source intelligence engine making this level of global situational awareness possible. And if you're looking for the commercial version, Stylo News is available on the web and via mobile apps right now to distill all these complex geopolitical events into clear, actionable intelligence.
So, for today's explainer, we've compartmentalized the theater into 5 key areas. We'll start with the strategic situation update, then look at local and global impacts, key decision-maker perspectives, an open-source sentiment analysis, and finally, wrap up with our near-term intelligence outlook. All right, turning first to Section 1, the strategic situation update, let's get a baseline look at the tactical map for the region. Over the last 14 days, the primary pattern we've seen is a very specific exchange of long-range capabilities. We're tracking high-tempo Ukrainian drone strikes penetrating deep into Russian territory. They've hit the Moscow oil refinery, along with industrial sites in regions like Tula, Chuvashia, and Samara. Now, countering this, we've observed intense Russian missile barrages targeting Kyiv, Dnipro, and Kharkiv. This really illustrates the current phase of the conflict. It's a concerted effort by both sides to degrade the other's critical logistics and support infrastructure far behind the immediate front lines.
Let's break down how this builds chronologically. On June 10th, reporting indicates Ukrainian operations targeted and damaged Russian oil refineries and pumping stations in Chuvashia and Samara. Just 2 days later, on June 12th, Ukrainian unmanned systems forces successfully severed some critical logistical bridges connecting occupied Kherson to annexed Crimea, notably over the North Crimean Canal and the Perekop-Armyansk route. Then, from June 15th through the 19th, the theater saw a stark escalation with mutual strikes on capital regions. This included Russian missile barrages on Kyiv that caused damage to cultural heritage sites, and Ukrainian drone strikes hitting defense production in Tula and an oil refinery in the Moscow region. And keep in mind, those are strikes requiring systems capable of bypassing hundreds of miles of layered air defense.
Moving outward from those immediate blast radii, Section 2 assesses the cascading impacts of these kinetic events. When we analyze the cascading effects, we're really looking at a multi-tiered reality over the past 2 weeks. Locally, the data shows a high civilian toll and major infrastructure disruption in both nations. In Ukraine, cities are facing residential destruction, while in Russia, communities in Tula and Chuvashia are experiencing the war's direct impact on their daily lives and local economies. Nationally, Ukraine's strategy is putting heavy strain on Russian logistics, particularly fuel supplies and military transport corridors into Crimea. And internationally, the ripples are severe. This escalation has prompted some stark warnings, most notably from the German military, which recently issued a warning about a potential Russian threat to NATO member states by the year 2029, urging accelerated defense acquisitions across the entire alliance.
Next up is Section 3. We're going to examine the key decision-makers shaping these developments, because understanding their viewpoints is absolutely crucial for projecting possible courses of action.
Here, we're contrasting 2 vital strategic perspectives. Based on intelligence from the G7 summit and regional reporting, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's posture remains squarely focused on continued resistance, maintaining those long-range drone strikes, and securing enhanced Western air defenses to protect Ukrainian cities. In contrast, U.S. President Donald Trump's approach introduces a very different geopolitical calculus. Intelligence reports indicate his strategy involves linking U.S. aid for Kyiv to broader goals, specifically demanding European assistance with Iran and securing the Strait of Hormuz. We are imparting these positions neutrally just to highlight the incredibly complex diplomatic landscape currently governing international support.
Furthermore, European leaders are proactively adapting to these shifting battlefield realities. A recent statement from Latvian Prime Minister Andris Kublers underscores a significant regional shift. He's advocating for, and I quote, enhanced military cooperation with Ukraine, focusing on counter-drone capabilities to address emerging security threats in the Baltic region. He is actively spearheading Baltic-Ukrainian cooperation, explicitly to deploy Ukrainian military experts to the Baltics. Their goal is straightforward: counter-emerging drone warfare tactics, and recognize that traditional alliance defenses have to evolve to meet the modern technological threats we're seeing in the current theater. That brings us to Section 4, our open-source sentiment analysis. Let's look at what the public discourse reveals. Our social media sentiment analysis tracks engagement across various geopolitical sources. The data reveals KyievPost.com driving very high pro-Ukrainian engagement, with users actively highlighting Russian vulnerabilities and sharing reports of successful strikes. The Moscow Times generates moderate engagement. Their audience tends to focus on independent, factual reporting that often exposes Russian internal logistical issues and diplomatic strains. Conversely, Russian state-affiliated izhd.ru generated minimal engagement in our recent data polls. The reporting on events like the Moscow security breaches was highly muted, focusing narrowly on neutralized threats without generating debate, which is a clear reflection of a tightly controlled narrative environment.
Finally, Section 5. Let's project the near-term intelligence outlook for the region and identify what you should be watching for in the coming weeks and months.
Based on all available intelligence estimates, a near-term peace settlement is highly unlikely. Both sides are demanding terms the other finds unacceptable right now. However, diplomacy does continue. In mid-June, G7 and Ramstein meetings are currently shaping international aid flows. Throughout the summer of 2026, we expect exploratory diplomatic contacts to continue, mostly serving as a shaping mechanism to build leverage. Looking toward autumn 2026, there is a recognized potential for more substantive peace talks, but that remains entirely contingent on the battlefield realities and the success of the ongoing strike campaigns we've outlined today.
The crucial point to take away is this overarching strategic reality. Spanning from the Baltic states in the north, coordinating on drone defenses, all the way down to the Black Sea, where logistical corridors are contested daily, the security architecture is deeply interconnected. The intelligence consensus is that NATO doesn't face an immediate conventional defense emergency today. Rather, it's a growing, complex escalation management challenge that requires heightened deterrence measures across the entire continent.
And that concludes our visual explainer for this morning. So what does this all mean? Will the upcoming autumn months bring a diplomatic thaw, or are we looking at a dangerous new freeze to the front lines? For a comprehensive deep dive into these exact events, we urge you to listen to today's full Stylo News Intel Update podcast, titled No Peace in Sight, Drones Over Moscow, Missiles Over Kyiv, available on your favorite channel or by following the link on this post. Thank you for listening, and remember to subscribe to Stylo News, where you can get AI-powered news on demand at www.stylonews.com. Stay informed and have a great morning.